Andrew, I heard you refer to this briefly yesterday, and I was rapt, as I'm sure everyone was listening. So, in your prosecutorial hat now, what would you recommend? And I know you've have some doubts about the pace and aggressiveness of the department, but just as with Weissman running the investigation, what would DOJ be doing, immediately, and what would be the game plan?
Well, one of the things that you do is you identify people who you would want to have cooperate, and then you figure out how to flip them. Either they're going to be somebody like Cassidy Hutchinson who's going to come in and actually just do
Yep.
their duty, or they're going to do it because they're facing charges. The two people who, to me, are sort of would be right up on the chopping block of sort of key people to be focusing on are Mark Meadows and Corcoran.
And
Uh,
Mark Meadows, can I just add him? No, I know, I'm just joking. We
yes,
eight time and Mark Meadows
right,
again. It's
right.
amazing
I mean,
how obscure he stayed here. Sorry, go ahead.
well,
Yeah.
I have to say, I think there's a reason he's like, he is clearly getting good counsel.
Former Deputy Attorney General.
He
Yeah.
is keeping his mouth shut, which is, not something that you're seeing from others. And, obviously that phone call that Congressman Lofgren talked about, it's they didn't call about the weather. These are all people I'm very familiar with. They were all convicted in one ways or the other in connection with the Mueller investigation, or charged in case of Bannon, now convicted. And so this is not exactly a reputable group that you would be thinking, who do I want to call for advice at the particular time that happened? But to get into that, I mean, you're not going to flip Bannon and Stone and Flynn, right? I mean, they've proved that. So those are not going to be people that you are going to flip or would be particularly credible on the stand, even if you managed to flip them. I think it would just be, they're so damaged at this point. So Mark Meadows is, if you're his lawyer, you basically have to build a strong case and then talk to him about why he needs to come in. And then, the issue is going to be immunity versus
Yeah,
taking
the
out a plea.
lawyer will push for immunity, right? And yeah.
Right, but that's why, I mean, his role could be so significant, not just in the sort of so-called January 6th events, but also in Mar-a-Lago, that you really want to try and build that. With Corcoran, it's a little easier because he is being, I think, set up as the fall guy on this. And so I actually think, and this is Carol, don't respond, but I actually think some of the leaks that we're seeing are in some ways from him, because you could see Christina Bobb basically throwing Corcoran under the bus, and Corcoran's basically got the hot potato to sort of say, hey, it wasn't me. Now, he may actually have some criminal exposure, but that's the kind of person that you either make a case or that you can really imagine immunizing, because there will be consequences to him if he does have liability, at least professionally.
And he's a fairly solid guy. He's not one of the clowns, in the Trump legal orbit, relatively speaking.
Well, but I want to say something, because there are some issues relating to other people who have substantial criminal exposure based on evidence that we have not disclosed for a variety of reasons, because we know the Department of Justice already has this stuff. And
Could you be
so,
more specific?
no,
Yeah, exactly. We won't tell. Yeah.
right. So I'll just tell you, there's plenty of levers out there, and I hope they are used. So I'll just say,
Wow.